Now, there is no doubt about it that With Love, Meghan, the new series by Netflix that stars Meghan Markle, is by far one of the most poorly received Netflix shows to date, especially in 2025 for starters. It's not a good starting point, by the way, for the Netflix board of directors, for the many executives over there, especially for CEO Greg Peters, who, by the way, has been trying to change course, desperately speaking, which, by the way, he did make some success with that. We have a lot to talk about today when it comes down to the Meghan Markle drama going on internally over at Netflix. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, one thing about Meghan Markle, and I've said this once and I'll say it again, it really seems like she's losing her marbles yet again when it comes to the status of With Love, Meghan, and the ramifications coming out of that, based on what's been going on between, Netflix and HBO. We talked about the whole HBO situation. There's a lot of things going on over there with Meghan Markle. But interestingly enough, Greg Peters, the CEO over at Netflix, had some success in really trying to stabilize the situation with the board of directors. Now, for those of you that have no idea what I'm talking about, the board of directors sided with Meghan Markle. They supported Meghan Markle multiple times, such as firing the marketing team after she complained about them, and also hiring a series of DEI hires for the new marketing team to handle upcoming trailers and TV spots for With Love, Meghan in a desperate move to really boost up the marketing campaign. That'll be fulfilled in about 2 weeks. What's interesting here, though, is that with endless celebrities still doubling down on their agenda even after the majority of the public pushed back against them and made their voice very clear, one major development going on now involves more to do with Meghan Markle and the drama going on with Netflix. Now, it turns out that after serious negotiations took place between Netflix CEO Greg Peters and the board of directors based on Meghan Markle's recent toxic behavior behind the scenes, one agreement that was put together is that Netflix will now be canceling the 2 mystery projects that were greenlit by the board of directors 1 month ago. Initially, get this, Meghan Markle had 3 projects, we talked about this already, a season 2 of With Love, Meghan, and the 2 projects that were just recently axed/cancelled after the backlash got so out of control that CEO Greg Peters reportedly knocked some sense into the board of directors after 3 days of arguments behind the scenes. It turns out that Meghan Markle was going to have a travel series on Netflix for 2026, as well as another series that was supposed to focus on clothing and jewelry shopping for 2027. Both of those shows that were untitled, however, generally the idea for each show was applied, have now officially been canceled, and we're going to pay Meghan Markle $20 million each, and was going to be a part of a new contract deal/extension, which, by the way, right now is completely up in the air. The only project that remains right now is a With Meghan Season 2, and that's it. CEO Greg Peters is still battling the board of directors to cancel that. However, the board is reportedly waiting to see if Meghan's new show, With Love, Meghan, performs well or not, and that will reportedly determine if they end or renew her contract altogether. Now, regardless, however, Meghan's travel series and shopping series have been fully scrapped and axed, canceled outright behind the scenes, it created multiple moments of outrage coming from not just Meghan Markle, but her entire team that researches material for her new shows that she pitches to studios like Netflix. Now, this spells an even bigger sign that Netflix is now truly on the fence and the tipping point of firing Meghan Markle and ending her contract deal altogether and to never work with her again, much like what HBO recently did. Now, we talked about HBO making that very good decision on their end. I'm a very big critic of HBO, by the way, when it comes to its CEO and its many executives over there, especially with what they did with Velma and Velma Season 2 with the whole race swapping situation that took place. Really made no sense to me at all. That is the epitome of DEI nonsense happening with a popular Scooby-Doo character getting her own show, but race swapping the character altogether. But I digress. I think that Netflix is really beginning to realize and come to terms with reality that, well, the general public is very much now the majority, alright? People do not like Meghan Markle, especially Americans, right? People just don't want to see her, they don't want to listen to her on television or on Netflix, because what's the first thing that pops up when you bring up Netflix? Well, according to all of you guys that have been commenting back over here, this has been, marketed heavily on their home screens, has been really getting shoved in their face by Netflix, and people just don't want to have it. So that's why you're having some level of subscription cancellations, unsubscribers. Well over 20,000 emails were sent over to Netflix of complaints about the With Love Meghan series. And look, this is just another prime example of a studio that really does not listen to their core customer base, and they just keep making the same mistake over and over again. Now look, even though they are trying to correct things, they are trying to change course, they did cancel those 2 series for Meghan Markle. That's one step in the right direction, but they're still not doing the right thing fully. They still have a With Love Meghan Season 2 as a contingency plan. It's all planned out, it's all, written out. They have the general idea of where it's gonna go, and that should not even be happening right now. That should not even be on the table to begin with. If anything, you shouldn't even start production on a Season 2 or even greenlight anything until you see success on a Season 1. That's how it should work. But moving onwards, this is where it gets a little out of control also, is that on top of everything here, HBO's decision on canceling Meghan's fitness show reportedly was a main contributor, get this, to why many more board members at Netflix decided to cancel the 2 projects from Meghan Markle at Netflix. Already, Markle is now trying to reverse that action that was applied by the board, and is best described as shocked since the board listened to her prior demands by firing the marketing team on command. Now, Markle was said to be the one that pitched both the travel show and the shopping series in a desperate move to relate with women around the globe to increase her popularity. 1 month ago, Netflix accepted those pitches by Markle, and recently this sudden change of heart by Netflix is what's creating more chaos coming from Meghan Markle, who is not taking that decision very well at all and acting very aggressive behind the scenes. So again, it's interesting to see that Netflix now, out of nowhere, at last minute, decides to make some kind of change, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that they thought that maybe the Backlash would settle, that maybe the Backlash would flatline or would eventually just kind of go stagnant. It's not. It's growing, and it's growing fast. And they're seeing that. They're seeing the statistics. They're seeing the number of people unsubscribing for Netflix. They're seeing the number of emails getting sent out there, well over 20,000 at this point. We talked about that like 3 days ago, 2 days ago, give or take. And so it's going to be quite the story on January 15th, once this show drops on Netflix, to see what kind of backlash they are going to get even after the show drops, right? Right now, all this backlash, believe it or not, is before the show even aired. Imagine what it's going to be like once it drops on Netflix. That's going to be a whole different story, and we'll have a lot more to talk about that down the road. But overall, I would like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I'll catch you guys later.